Hi, boys and girls. We're at lesson 111, and it's a very different type of lesson than we've been doing for most of our unit. And then typically at the end of each unit, there's going to be a shift into geometry or some other type of math that's away from necessarily the algorithms that we're working on or the big concept that the unit has been covering, like place value and addition and subtraction from this unit. So in this case, we're getting into geometry and points, line segments, lines, and rays. And our math message is, let me move my head, read the student reference book. Pages 224 and 225 with a partner. And then list 3 places where geometry can be found in our world. Okay, so you can even see right behind me some examples of where geometry might be in our world. But let's get back to that student reference book. How can we access it at home or at school? Well, at school, we do have the hardcover purple books. They look similar to our journals, but they are different. But when we're at home, we don't have those student reference books, but we do have Everyday Math Online. So let's take a look at that really quick. I'm going to flip over here and move my head again. And look, we have Everyday Math Online. We've already logged in. And I used Clever to help me log in, and you can too. And if you're having trouble connecting to Everyday Math Online with Clever, I can help you. But it might take some finagling and some work. I made sure all of the Pod B kids were working correctly with it today. And I think all Pod A did last week. So either way, let's get to this page. And at lesson 111, you have lots of options. And one of the things that I want you to look at right here is my ebooks. When we click on that, you're going to be able to visit the student reference book, or you can even look at your journal. You can't really write in it as well as using Cami, so we're not really going to be doing that a whole lot, but you can kind of look at the pages and get a sense. But student reference book is going to be very useful, and you can go to this anytime to help you learn about a concept or whatever, because when we go into, when we go into our books, we can look and see at these little page numbers, SRB 58, for example, or if we look at our home links or other assignments, there's always going to be this little book, and the page number goes along with the concepts that we're working with that day. So, with that being said, we can get into our SRB, and it said page 224 and 225. So we can kind of take the long way and flip through all the pages. Oh boy, that would take forever. But we can actually click on things in the table of contents, I believe. No, yes, no, no. We used to be able to. But down here, we can also, I'm going to resize this just so you can see it a little better. You can actually type in the number of the page that you want to go to, and it will bring you right there. Okay, there are special little links that you can sketch. You can also hear the book being read aloud to you. So if you're having a hard time with any of this text, that can be helpful. So read this over. Think about some of the geometry, the shapes, and different things that we see in our world, in our everyday world, not just in a math book or in a math class, but in real life, right? And then we can now apply it to what we're working on. So take a moment to read these 2 pages. Go to their student reference book, take a look at these, think about them, and then when you're ready, we can continue and talk about the 4 geometric figures that we're going to be working on in our lesson today. Okay, so take a moment read it, and think about a few spots that you might have seen geometry in our natural world, in our real world. Okay, so this is our journal page. Our journal page is page 27. But before we can continue, let's talk about these four big words: point, line segment, line, and ray, right? And a point. A point is an easy one. A point is any dot or any spot in space. Now, it could be on a flat surface, like a piece of paper. It could be right behind my head or wherever. A point is a spot in space. So, in order to draw it, we need to put it on a flat surface, a two-dimensional thing. But it is in 3D too. So it could be kind of floating around in the middle of a cube or just out there somewhere, right? It doesn't have to be a part of anything. But let's see if I can make it maybe a little thicker. Go 6, burp. There, oh my. Let's try that again. There we go. And we'll go bump. Yes, the grid paper is acting funny again. But anyway, then a point does need to have a letter that goes with it. So I'm going to put a letter next to it. I'm going to use the letter J. And now that is called point J. Okay. If we have 2 points that are connected with a straight line, it's called a line segment. So let's imagine I go back to drawing those points. I'm going to go point, and I could draw freehand here. But is that going to make it straight? Well, if I happen to have that ruler I was using, or even the side of a box that's straight, a straight edge, then yes. But for Cami, I'm going to be using this little tool here. And I have a feeling it's not going to line up exactly. So we're going to try our best to make sure it lined up exactly. So not bad. Not bad at all. Oops, I got another one. Hold on. Undo. So let's take a look at this one. Okay. I'm going to move that little point to the very end, just like that. And now I can label those points. Those points need to have some labels. Okay, so I'm going to label it. I'm going to choose a different color because I just want it to stand out a little differently. How about R and B? Okay, so there you go. That is now called line segment RB. And the way we write that is RB, and then we put a little tiny kind of line over the top. Of course, it's going underneath, so that's not helpful. But I can drag it up. Now, I didn't draw that little line very straight, but when you're writing it out, you need to put the 2 letters for both ends of the line segment, and then a little symbol of just the straight little line over the top. That's what a line segment is. And it's really similar to a line, but it has a huge difference to it. And so I'm going to make now another, right now, line segment, But what I'm going to insert here, I'm going to use the triangle to just kind of help me with that. I'm going to put in little arrow ends with my triangle. And I'm going to definitely need to fix them because they're not even touching. But I'm also going to be able to adjust where they are so they look more like lines, right? Boom, there we go, there's one. And here is another. Now, that is a line. Now, the difference between a line segment and a line, well, a line goes on forever in both directions. It goes on and goes on and goes on. It doesn't stop. And it doesn't curve, it doesn't change direction, it just keeps going on forever and ever and ever. Now, in real life, do we have such things as lines? Not really. This is more something that we'd call theoretical, something that we're going to be thinking about in our heads and imagining and understanding. But it doesn't actually exist in the real world, and it doesn't exist anywhere. We don't have examples of real, true lines that just keep on going forever and don't stop. It's not real. But it is something that we need to understand and think about in math and other subjects like science. So that's something that we do want to work with. Now, this line is incomplete. We need to add a couple things to it, at least a couple points. Okay, so for every figure that we draw, we want to have points included. So I'm going to go back to my drawing tool, and I'm going to go back to the 6-point font or size, because that seemed to work pretty well. And I'm going to put a point there. I'm going to put a point here. I want to make sure they're right on my line. And they could be anywhere on the line. And those points, now that we have a point, and I'm going to put a letter G and a letter Q, are going to help us name or label the line. So this is line GQ. And if I want to write it like I did over here with the symbol, or might see it up here like this, right? I'm going to zoom in really quick. This right here, they want you to draw and label line BN. And you see the symbol where there's arrows on both sides? There we go. So that is what line looks like, okay? And I've zoomed out way too much. Let's zoom back in. So line segment, point, and ray, okay? And the last thing that we're going to be doing is the ray. And the ray is really similar. It's kind of a combination of the line segment and the line. And when I think about rays, I think about, well, the sun. The sun's rays start at one point, which is the sun itself, and they keep going in a straight line the whole way. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is find a starting point. And the next part is I'm going to extend a straight line off of that point. And I need to kind of match it up a little bit. There we go. And then the other end, I need to have one of these triangles or an arrow symbol to show that it has a starting point and it has an ending point. So I started my triangle. I'm going to now manipulate it a little bit. And I'm going to adjust it like this. There we go. And now we can add one more thing. I want to add one more point. We need to have at least 2 points. And I'm not sure why that one particular point is a different color. Oh, it is black. It just was kind of highlighted weird. So I'm going to undo that one. There we go. So now we have our ray. And what's really important about naming and labeling rays is that we have 2 points on a ray, and one of them is the starting point. Some people refer to it as the end point. I like to think of it as a starting point because it's really where the ray is starting from, and then it just keeps going in that one direction. So if I choose a letter for that point, let's say I choose T, and then I choose another letter like W, this would be called ray TW, and it wouldn't be called ray WT. So back with the line segment in the line, you could actually flip those letters around and they'd still be the same line, segment or line. So here we'd have line segment GQ or line segment QG. Line QG or line GQ. And here we have line segment RB or line segment BR if we have it going in the other direction. But with rays, they have one direction. And that's a really important piece that I want us to think about. That it's one direction. I realize I don't have my, so, ooh, geez. Never mind. I'm just going to go with a text box and red, and I'm going to make it extra big. I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to say one direction. Okay. So points, line segments, lines, rays, they're all going to be what we think about today in math, and I want you to be able to know how to identify them and draw them in this lesson. And this page is going to help you with that. Let's work through the page on our own. We're going to discuss it in our next class, and we will have additional work with lines, line segments, rays, and points to help us even more and practice even more with it. All right. Have a great day and see you soon.